Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to share with you my journey towards medical retirement. A little story time. Starting in January of 2023, I became ill and later on was diagnosed with multiple conditions. Then, when I thought I could possibly be on my healing journey, and December the 8th of 2023 ended up being in a significant car accident and sustained injuries to my head, neck, shoulders, and back. So during this time, I went on short-term disability. And as my journey progressed, it had been determined that I would most likely be going on long-term disability and had to figure out what that meant for me. So I have a few notes. Video is probably not going to be perfect. Moving forward, a lot of my videos are going to try and be one-shot wonders and will require minimal editing, as my ability is to sit at a desk and do tasks that require a long period of time are a struggle. So I hope you can bear with me while I try and muddle through my notes. So I thought that so this has been a 3-year journey for me, and it is a really long journey towards medical retirement, but I thought if there were people out there that were like me, that maybe, or that are maybe just beginning their journey and are not sure what their future holds for them, maybe their life is of working, is their identity, is their life, and they're really unsure as to what my life would be like if I no longer had my job to go to. Would I financially be able to sustain myself? What does medical retirement involve? Would I even qualify? So I'm located in Canada, so I'm going to discuss what the requirements or what the process or would be to try and consider whether or not you would be eligible or qualify for medical retirement. If you find this information useful, if you're in Canada and you find this information useful, give it a thumbs up. If you happen to be in the United States and you want me to do some research, I can do another video like this that focuses on American citizens and what would be required and whether or not you could also qualify for medical retirement. So for qualifying for medical retirement in Canada, there's kind of 2 ways you could qualify. You could qualify just as a Canadian citizen, and you could also qualify if you happen to be a federal government employee. So I'm going to kind of discuss a little bit of both, and I'll be referring to my notes, so bear with me. Who is really medical retirement for? Generally, if you have a serious medical condition or a mental condition, your condition has been determined to be long-term or permanent, you're unable to perform your regular job tasks or duties, and it's also really important that you have medical evidence that's documented that's going to be able to support your medical journey in your application for medical retirement. In Canada, if you're just a regular citizen, this would fall under your Canadian Pension Plan Disability, or CPP disability. It could also be under your employee disability pensions. So if you work for the federal government, there are fail-safes in place for you to have a disability pension and apply for medical disability, medical retirement. And also it can fall under long-term disability benefits. So if you happen to have insurance with your job or have any kind of plan that contains long-term disability benefits, then you may qualify for medical retirement through your medical benefits. So who out there should consider looking into medical retirement? If you've been off work for months with no clear recovery timeline, If your doctor has discussed limitations or the inability to return to your current role, if you're currently relying on short-term disability and it's about to end, if work worsens your condition, and if you're over 55 and facing ongoing health challenges. So if any of those are you, maybe medical retirement is something that you want to consider or look into. I'm on a current three-year journey, so it's not for the faint of heart. It's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of appointments. It's a lot of documentation, but you have to determine whether or not this is something that between you and your healthcare providers is the best route for the direction of your life to take. So if you are a federal government employee in Canada and you are considering or have been presented with the option for medical retirement and you have a position in the public service, you may qualify for medical disability retirement. You may qualify if you have a serious physical or mental condition, your condition is long-term or likely permanent, you're unable to perform the essential duties of your position, your department can no longer accommodate your limitations. So what that means, if you happen to be in a current role with the public service, and let's say your job is required to be at a desk for 9.5 hours a day, 4 to 5 days a week, and due to back, neck, head, shoulder injuries or something that you sustained from a car accident, and you can no longer sit at your desk for that length of time, then your employer is to try and do accommodations for you, whether it be a standing desk. Now, you would probably have to go through some kind of ergonomic assessment in order for your employer to determine what kind of accommodations they could provide to you and determine whether or not these accommodations would actually work for you and allow you to continue doing that job. And they may even offer you a different position that might better suit your needs. But these are things that you will go through and discuss with your HR or your supervisor within the federal government or with your employer. So, and if you cannot be reassigned to a suitable role, and you have medical evidence that's returning to work isn't realistic. My apologies for the noise. I have Moxie Girl who's trying to get my attention and she knocked something onto the floor. So let's reset. So there's no age requirements like there was with CPP disability or just being a Canadian citizen where you had to be like 55 or older. If you happen to be a federal government employee and medical retirement is something that might be an option for you, there's no minimum age. You do have to have a minimum of 2 years of pensionable time. And if you qualify, you may receive an immediate pension regardless of your age. And your pension is not reduced if your disability is deemed permanent. And who in the public service should consider looking into this? If you've been on extended sick leave, short-term disability, or are currently on long-term disability, then this may be something that you want to look into and consider. If your workplace accommodations are no longer effective and you're just not able to currently do your job duties or any other job duties in a position that they can possibly place you in. Your doctor says you cannot return to your current role or your medical team, right? Like I, with being in a car accident, also had chiropractors, physio, occupational therapy, all of those things. So your medical documentation may not just be from your GP. It will most likely include lots of documentation from other professionals in a more specialized or specialist role. And you also should look into this if you're if your condition is affecting your ability to work consistently. So if you are trying to work with the accommodations that your employer is offering you, but you end up being in so much pain at the end of day 1 that you are missing day 2 and day 3, then obviously your conditions are affecting your ability to be at work consistently. So you may want to look into pursuing a longer term disability and seeing if you can qualify for medical retirement. And also, if you're being advised to consider leaving your job due to health reasons. If you're getting pressure from your employer to retire or to resign, please don't do that. Please contact your union rep. Look, anybody that can help guide you and give you information. Don't feel that because you can't do your current role that's what you're destined to do, is to resign and have absolutely no income, no way to support yourself, no backup plan, and nowhere to go. There are fail-safes in place, and especially if you are a public civil servant and work for the federal government. So ensure that you exhaust those and don't succumb to the pressure of your employer to kind of force you into basic retirement where you wouldn't qualify for any pension, or forcing you to resign from your position because you're unable to fulfill your duties. So highly recommend, like I said, contacting a union rep, reaching out to coworkers, reaching out to anyone that can answer your questions on whether or not what's the best role and the best journey for you to take. So those are the information that I can provide you in my journey that started in January of 2023. If you would like me to do this video that applies to American citizens or the US, and whether or not as US citizens or US civil servants, what journey or what qualifications you would need in order to consider medical retirement, then leave a comment in the description box down below, and I will ensure that I research your country's rules and regulations and pop up a video that you may find helpful. Thanks, everyone. See you soon. Bye-bye.